Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Virgo for February 2017. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see what's new on my blog, including a new series coming soon called Astrology and Crystals, talking about crystals that are great for your sign. So what's going on in the month of February? We have the epic conclusion to the Pisces Virgo eclipse series that has been really working on the lives of Virgo people in a big way. Whenever we have eclipse cycles and one of the eclipses is in our sign, we're really getting some major reworking done or opportunities to have major reworking done. And so you might have noticed, if you're paying attention, from the beginning of February 2015, well, the beginning of the year of 2015 rather, we started this eclipse cycle and it's been activating aspects of your self, of your what you're bringing out into the world, how you see yourself, how you are in relationships. This polarity between self and relationship has been very strongly highlighted and will be coming up again here. All Virgo placements, early, middle, and late degree, have anywhere from a notable amount to a massive amount of energy in the partnership houses this month. For the early placements, so basically the February born, or if you're watching for your rising sign 0 through 9 degrees, you have the solar eclipse in your 7th house, besides having a massive amount of personal planets, the ones closest to us, and outer planets, the ones that are working in a long-term way. So this story about Virgo and partnership and Virgo and relationship is highlighted this month, but is part of this very long, ongoing restructuring of how you give to others. You know, Virgo energy in general tends to be very selfless and wants to help everyone. All the people that I know that have strong Virgo placements that are close to me are off in soup kitchens, feeding people, taking care of homeless animals, you know, just working hard at their job to help their family, just working and focusing and helping others. It's a very selfless type of energy, and it's very wonderful. And at the same time, we all have an opportunity at some point to redo how we do that relationship. Usually we wind up giving to others first and then giving to self. But then at some point, spirit, you know, is whispering, is knocking, is slamming on the door saying, hey, you actually have to work on putting yourself first in the highest vibrational ways, not in a negatively selfish way or childish way, but in a way that honors that you are God essence within, you know, you have God essence within you. And when you neglect yourself, you're neglecting spirit. So giving everything to others and not giving to yourself is not going to get you as far with what you're trying to achieve with helping others as it will to take care of your needs first, and then with your excess, give out to others. So you have a wonderful opportunity here with all of this massive congregation in the 7th house, including for the early degree placements, the solar eclipse. Solar eclipse is like a new moon in triplicate. You know, it's like the new opening of a new moon times 3. So either 3 new openings in relationship will come up, or a triple whopper of an opportunity within relationship will come up. Sometimes it's an actual new relationship. Sometimes it's a new dimension of a previous relationship. So it's a wonderful time for partnering with others. And I'm calling the theme of this month for all Virgos the power of partnership. So my affirmation for you this month is, I relish in the power of partnership, because together, really, we can do so much more than we can with our own efforts. And that's the ongoing theme for you and the theme for this month. So you middle to late degree placements, you still have this energy in the partnership sector as I'm talking about, but you also have a stronger focus on the 6th house. So middle degree placements are like the first 10 days or so of March, or 10 to 19 degrees. You all have quite a bit in the partnership houses and quite a bit in the 6th house, which I'm about to talk about. The late degree placements, you have just a little bit in the 7th house, the partnership energies, and a lot in the 6th house. So, you know, it's the same houses are represented for each of you regardless of your placements, and the late degree placements are those like last 10 days of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees if you're watching for your rising sign. So all of you are having the same houses accentuated, just with a little bit different focus. So the sixth house, and where the middle and late degree placements have this big energy opening up, has to do with health, your health regimen, medical diagnostics, alternative practitioners, yoga, meditation, pets, animals, service animals, anything having to do with pets or animals. Also your work situation. So if you go to a job, your work experience. If you're self-employed, it has to do with your business and if you employ other people who you're interacting with. And it also has to do with how organized you are. Virgo energy in general is known to be organized. But you know, we often don't take on in full force the attributes of our sun sign. So there could be many people that have their sun in Virgo who would laugh and say, yeah, I'm actually not really that organized in many areas of my life, because this energy of the sun sign is just a small percentage of our total makeup, you know? And sometimes people who are cuspy, born like at the early part of the sign or the end part of the sign, they might have more attributes of the sign that just came, you know, so Leo, or they might, if it's later in the sign, they might have more Libra. So it's like you can't really necessarily tell everything from someone just knowing their sun sign. You know certain pieces of truth, but depending on where the other planets are in your chart, that it could be different. So in general, Virgos are known for being organized, but any Virgo you ask who actually is organized will tell you that there are certain areas of their lives that they really should be more disciplined and more organized. And sometimes they do extra focus, hyper focus on other areas, avoiding the areas that they're not organized and focused in. So for you all, this solar eclipse is about getting organized in the places that you are not already. You know, applying discipline, applying focus, applying a system, getting a system together for the things that you don't already have a system together for. So for all of you, I have the affirmation, I am the epitome of efficiency. And that's something, you know, mantras are really powerful. They impress the subconscious mind. And so when you roll the mantra through your mind, when you're walking, when you're going throughout your day, it's giving your subconscious mind something to do. The subconscious mind is always looking for a job. It's kind of like a border collie. You know, I have border collies, so I talk about them a lot. They always want a job. And once you set them on a job, they're happy and they do their job to the nth degree, very obsessively. And that's how the subconscious mind is. So when you use affirmations, you can impress upon your subconscious mind to create the affirmation, even if it seems really, really far from being true. So the lunar eclipse has the opposite energy of the solar eclipse. New moon and solar eclipses are all about opening something new, something starting. Lunar eclipses bring things to completion, to fruition, and to an ending. And it's often very emotional. So there could be happy tears of accomplishment, or there could be dramatic tears of having to say goodbye to something, or it can be bittersweet. It could be you're trying to create something, and as part of that, you're moving on to another chapter in your life, and something's closing, which is exciting because you want to move on to the next one, but it's sad because you're having to say goodbye to what you've just been working with for so long. So for the early and middle degree placements, you're going to have this full moon in triplicate, this powerful ending, completion, event, circumstance in your 12th house. The late degree placements happen in the 11th house, which I'll talk about in a second. So the 12th house has to do with your deep unconscious mind, your dream time. It's like the cosmic soup where we're all connected and we're all one. So this could be, for some of you, a dark night of the soul, something in your mind coming to completion. If your mind was under pressure, if your perceptions were under pressure, something could break. But then, of course, after that breaks, then you have the chance to open up and move into the next level. If you have not been paying attention to things going on with your sleep cycle, the 12th house also has to do with sleep. So sleep issues, if you haven't been sleeping, many people have a lot of trouble sleeping. Many people have sleep apnea that's undiagnosed, and they can't, they're not breathing in the night. And so they're not sleeping well, they're not awaking refreshed, and they're not healing in the nighttime. And that could be either the cause or the an exacerbator to health issues. So you might find out something having to do with your sleep cycle, irregular sleep cycles. I think I've mentioned this before, but just in case, they do have sleep studies now that you can do at home. If your doctor had suggested that maybe you're not sleeping well and they suggested a sleep study and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to go sleep in some random place while people hook things up to me, I don't blame you. But these at-home sleep studies can monitor what's happening in your sleep, and then you send the results back electronically and send the device back. And insurance usually covers some or all of this. So if you have something going on with your health, if you have something going on with your sleep, if you have something going on with your mental state, sleep is very relevant and important to that. And so something around sleep could come to a head where you can make a discovery or you can have a breakthrough. Speaking of breakthroughs, this is a house of spiritual breakthrough. So many people will have a major, major, major aha moment where some sort of peace, some sort of understanding gets downloaded in this major way that you just see everything clearly in a certain area or in all areas. So you can look for the possibility of a spiritual breakthrough if you're trying to deepen your meditation routine, something like that. This could all be a part of that. So of course, the full moon lunar eclipse is going to test weak links. So if you have any weak links in your mental space, it could come up. So just try to set yourself up for being supported around that time. The full moon is on February 10th. So the days leading up to the full moon and a couple of days after, is this high time for energy to manifest. But the thing about eclipses is that you can actually see manifestations from eclipses up to 6 weeks before or after. It's very powerful, It's not just as we usually feel full moons in the days before, it's like the weeks before something could happen. So all of February and even a good bit of, or actually all of January is a high time for something notable to occur here. So the later degree placements, you're going to have this eclipse, this coming to fruition, this coming to completion, this coming to attention, something needing attention. That's the other way that we look at full moons. It's like something comes up that needs attention. So something in your 12th house could need attention, for the early middle degree placement. Something in your 11th house could need attention. The 11th house has to do with friends. It has to do with acquaintances, social media, technology, internet related things, anything having to do with interacting in a social way, whether it's online or in person. It also has to do with working in large groups, large organizations, like a big company, a big corporation, humanitarian efforts, things that are community-based projects are all here. So you late degree placements might see this coming to completion, fruition, drama, challenge, and then opportunity come to a head in your 11th house. I have seen lunar eclipses in the 11th house also show up where someone has a friend that is having a really hard time, or something that goes on with their friend that affects them, or someone they know in their social group that affects them in some way. Either they accomplish something big and it inspires them, or they have something difficult that goes on, or many other manifestations. So I want to talk more about this time of the eclipses. The time of the eclipse is the time to be, or eclipses is the time to be the spider. Even though we're not in a technical retrograde in February, we are in the shadow period of Venus retrograde, and Venus rules love, beauty, and money, which is a very large portion of things that people experience: relationships, finances, aesthetics, artistic ventures, appearances. So that's going to be coming up in a big way, even though it's not until March 4th that Venus goes retrograde. Every day we get into February, this Venus retrograde cover is, cloaking us. I don't want it to sound like it's a bad thing, because it can be a challenging thing, you know, in this polarized state of being that we walk through. There's always a potential of a challenging manifestation or a very positive manifestation, but there are many, many, many positive manifestations of Venus retrograde. So I want to talk about some more of that. Also, definitely check out my Venus retrograde video, which goes into a massive amount of detail about the do's and the don'ts and the why around this transit. And it's really in effect for February, March, and April very solidly, and a little bit of, and some of May actually. Okay, so let's talk more about what the month in general brings us and some other points about Venus retrograde. I also want to talk about the sweet energies and the sweet days and the challenging days. I'm calling the general theme of this month, for all signs, the tiptoe water test. You know, when you go to the beach or somewhere where there's water, and rather than just jumping right into the water, you stick your toe in, just the tip of your toe, to see what the water temperature is. And unless you're in a very warm climate, usually the water is kind of cold, right? And so maybe you have to put your feet in and then get up to your knees. It makes me think of when I was little. I grew up in New York City, and my cousin, who was like a sister to me more than my cousin, and she was a little bit older than me, and she would taunt me, and she'd say, "Stop being such a sissy, just jump in the water." And you know, if you've ever gone swimming in the Atlantic Ocean, it's very cold. So I would put my toe in and say, "Oh gosh, I don't want to go in," you know, and then it would take me time to get used to it. And then she would jump right in. And I'm not saying that in general there's one way of being better than the other. But when we're talking about astrological rhythms at play, this is very poignant, because there is a time to jump right in. And there's a time to do the tiptoe water test and go in and get used to it with your ankles, and then slowly go in and get used to it with your knees, you know, etc. And that's the time that we're working with in February, because even though we technically don't have any planets, personal planets, meaning the ones closest to us, like Mercury, Venus, Mars, are usually the ones we talk about being retrograde, the personal planets, we don't have any of that happening technically in February. But we just got past Mercury retrograde and its shadow period, and we've started Venus retrograde shadow period. Venus goes retrograde from March 4th through April 15th. Venus retrograde happens around every year and a half. I definitely recommend you listen to my Venus retrograde video, because Venus rules love, beauty, and money. So everything about relationships and finances and business decisions and artistic journeys, and beauty decisions, all are housed under this Venus retrograde energy, even in February, because the shadow period has started. So I go into a massive amount of detail about what to do, what not to do, and why in that video that I'm not going to cover in this. So you definitely need to listen to that as a supplement to this video, and really pay attention to that for February, March, and April. So when we're in a shadow period of a retrograde, like we are in February, right? It doesn't go retrograde till March 4th, but the shadow period started at the end of January. So the whole month of February, every day we get closer to March, is getting deeper in this Venus retrograde energy. It's kind of like when you go to the beach. If you haven't crossed over the bridge yet to the island that the beach is on, you start seeing little beachwear, you know, tourist places and little tiki huts and things that feel beachy, but you're not at the beach yet, but the beach vibe is there, you know? So that's what a shadow period is like. It's like it starts acting as if you're there, even though you're not officially. And it's very relevant, because the same rules pretty much apply for the shadow period as they do for the retrograde. And that is to not jump into anything that's a long-term commitment if you can possibly help it. Now, this is doubly so, because this is a rule of the retrogrades, and this is also one of the things that we talk about with eclipses. February holds 2 eclipses. We have a full moon eclipse on February 10th, and we talked about that some. That's the lunar eclipse at 22 degrees of Leo. And we've got that solar eclipse on February 26th, that's at 8 degrees of Pisces. So when we talked about that as well, you know, so the general energy of eclipse is kind of like that be the spider energy. You weave your web and then you let things come to you. And you act as is necessary, but not unnecessarily and not without caution. So that's the story of the energy of February is, you want to tiptoe in, you want to get used to the water, you want to try things on. It's a wonderful time for going back over things. So anything that starts with the word or the prefix RE, redoing, resting, couples therapy is something that's amazing for retrogrades. Going back to romantic places that you've been with your partner before, bringing the magic back, spending more time with your partner, anything that you're kind of returning back to within your relationship. And it doesn't have to only be a challenging thing. Sometimes Venus retrograde can bring up arguments and problems. If there are weak links in your relationship or your money space, they're going to show up because that's the job of the retrograde. But if there's sweetness there as well, then sometimes a return of the magic occurs. So it's a good time to spend more time with your honey. It's not the best time to take on a new romantic relationship or a new financial relationship if you can help it, because you have these rose-colored glasses on as it relates to money and love and beauty and artistic things, expensive items and things like that. You're not seeing clearly, so you don't want to make big decisions. But trying things on, experimenting, making small decisions, being cautious is great. Learning and education is wonderful. Trying on something for a new profession, getting some information or education that might prepare you to do something in the future. All of that is fine for the retrogrades. We just want to keep our commitments to between 4 and 6 months, if possible. Also the same goes for a move. If you have to move or you're trying to do something different, when you move someplace, go into temporary lodging. Don't get there and then buy a house. You're not seeing clearly is the whole point. And when Venus goes direct, you'll look at everything totally differently. So you want to make sure there's wiggle room with the arrangements you've made so that when you see things differently, you're not locked into too much that you then can't shift. See, that's part of the point. So it's an artist's wonderland. Retrogrades are wonderful for doing art. And they can even be great for selling art, especially when you're going back to people or doing things before that you've done for promoting it. Backing up files is one of the single most important things you can do during any retrograde. So many people are going to have their important things lost during retrograde. So if you want to spend the time doing this proactively, I always make these, do these videos early so that you can get prepared for the time. As soon as you're hearing this, it would be good for you to be backing up files. And backing up anything and seeing to security and just kind of getting everything, all your ducks in a row that way. Some sweet energies that will be present, and you can see more about why I'm calling these sweet energies, what planets are at play, etc. when you sign up for my free email newsletter. So if you go to anniehelpsyou.com and you sign up for my free email newsletter, I do a write-up a month early, a written version of the energies ahead with more details about what goes on the certain days that make certain days bring sweetness, and then the challenging days. So the sweet energies are on the 9th, 10th, 11th, 13th, 14th, 16th, 20th, 21st, 23rd, and 26th. Okay, so 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 16, 20, 21, 23, 26. Now also remember when I give you these dates that we can experience transits before or after the actual day they occur. So it's like the days around these days, you can feel the energies that are true to the transits occurring on those days. Before I give you the challenging days, I also want to remind you, if you have already signed up for my free email newsletter and you're not receiving my monthly reports, there is some sort of glitch in many email services that put group emails into your social or promotions folder. So I send these things out like clockwork, like around a month early. Every month I always have, and I will continue to do this. So if you're not getting them, it's possible that they're going either to spam, to your social or promotions or events folders, and you're not even aware of it. So look in those folders and do a search for Annie Botticelli, and you should find some there, very likely. And then you move them into your inbox to let your Gmail or whatever it is, Gmail is infamous for this, know that you want those things into your inbox. Okay, so I've had this happen quite a bit. Okay, so the challenging days are the 2nd, the 5th, 10th, 22nd, 26th, and 27th. 2nd, 5th, 10th, 22nd, 26th, 27th. You might notice that some of these dates are ones I listed for the nice transits, and that is true because there are some challenging aspects that are happening at the same time as there are sweet aspects. So you might get, a mixed bag there. So the themes for the month: tiptoe water test, avoid the deep plunge, try things on, do things short term. You can make decisions as they relate to moving some things along, but not big launches, not big new things, not investing tons of money unless you have it to spare. Definitely check out my Venus retrograde video so you can understand more. The fact that Venus is in Aries through the month is going to make people want to be rambunctious and impulsive, and that's adding to this energy where you're going to want to do something, and it may or may not be the best thing to do. So be the spider. Let things come to you and leave wiggle room with how you activate those potentials. Definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see my offerings. I teach an astrology apprenticeship program, a course on creating successful online business if you want to be free of your geography and work online. I also have a new coach certification course that includes my online business course if you'd like to be a coach as your profession. I always have new things on my blog, so check it all out at anniehelpsyou.com, and I will see you next month. Bye.